All right, welcome in. It is Friday morning. This is Total Bases, and I think we're live on all platforms now. I'm here with Tokyo Brandon, Brian Leonard, and we are here to talk MLB, a full slate of MLB, not a travel day like yesterday where there was 6 games, I think. Felt like 2. 1 game at night. But it's nice to have the full slate. It's time for the weekend. Welcome in, guys. How's everyone doing on this fine Friday morning? And for Tokyo Brandon, I think Friday at whatever time, maybe like 11 p.m.
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
Yes. It's a beautiful time for me because normally the WagerTalk shows go like, noon Eastern or whatever, and I have to stay up till 1 in the morning. Actually, I'm on WagerTalk tonight, and that's 1 a.m. for me, and I'm the third guest, so I'll wait till 1:30 to actually go on. But hey, it's all in the love of doing what you do. So, and I do. So it's all good. What's up, Brian?
It's good. It's 6 a.m. out here in Vegas, and first of 3 shows, and
Awesome.
yeah, hopefully I can get a winner for somebody.
Yeah, I just did an early spot with MGM at like 8 a.m. But like I like the early show. Like the 8 a.m. show forces me to be, not that I wouldn't be up anyway. Like that's the other nice thing about following Korean baseball here. It's like kind of forces you to be up out of bed at like 5:30. So I don't mind doing the early stuff. And this is like the perfect time because I feel like this is like the sweet spot for the market to start to kind of like take shape. Obviously, you get some of your overnight stuff, but it really feels like 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern is when some limits increase and some of those bigger moves start to happen. So kind of like the perfect time to have an MLB show. And we want this one to be interactive. So we come in here with no plan really, other than to just talk games and try to give out insight. So if there's a question you have, it doesn't necessarily have to be Jack Falk in the chat. First of all, good morning, Jack. Second of all, he says, no chance Dan is awake to produce this. And listen, I can't speak to newbie's sleep schedule, but he is not producing this one right now. We are self-producing this on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Anthony Thornhill in the chat. What's up, Anthony? He says, what's up, TB? So we appreciate you guys filing in.
What's up,
and we're here to talk baseball.
Where do these comments go? Is this on Twitter or is this?
So I am seeing the comments. I think these are from YouTube, and I'll that's a good question, Brandon. I think
you're right. You're right. They have a little red. There's a little red rectangle with a white arrow in it, which means it's YouTube. Okay, cool. You guys are watching us on YouTube. Nice to see y'all.
My guess is if you guys want us to see a comment, I would make sure that you are on the YouTube, WagerTalk YouTube stream is probably because those are coming in. I don't know if the comments on Twitter will feed through. So if you want us to see a comment, make sure you're watching on YouTube. And but we'll get right into it. We've already got over 100 people in here. We'll be here for the next hour. So I'll start with Brian. I'm just going to go to Brian. I'm going to let him kick it off. Is there any topic you want to discuss, a game that you want us to discuss, something that you have observed from the last couple days or that you're looking ahead to for the weekend?
Well, first of all, I don't know if it's the opportune time to do baseball because we still have a couple games where they haven't announced the starting pitchers yet, and that's the Miami and the Milwaukee games. But other than that, I like doing the early. I'm an older guy, so I'm very good in the morning. As the day goes on, I get tired. So this is my best time to do it. I was disappointed with yesterday's schedule. You mentioned it was a travel day. There was only one game on at night, and unfortunately, it lasted forever as they had the rain delay and everything in Atlanta. Great game, by the way, but I prefer to have everything spaced out all day for viewing pleasure. Yeah. Today's games are all, for the most part, the night games. I'm seeing some 3:10 Pacific starts, which is about an hour earlier than normal, but that's better than all the 4s and the 7s. And we've been through all this in the NFL over the years where they schedule all the games at one time and just 1 or 2 after that. I can't complain today, although I do miss daytime baseball. Gives us a lot of time to handicap the games and confer on lineups before the games go off. So keep in mind when we are giving out plays right now, giving out our opinions, these are the information that we expect to happen And as the day goes on, starting lineups will be announced, and certain guys will not be playing. I know it, like in San Diego, they're looking for their best player. Tatis, he's a game time decision probably, so that'll have some effect on the line. But there's a lot of guys a lot of injuries going on right now, and we want to make sure the best players are out there for you.
Well, why don't we start there? I want to talk about the Padres for a minute. I got sucked in on Wednesday. I kind of had a feeling that the Padres were going to be down. I mean, I don't know that I had a feel. It was pretty much like the worst kept secret. Right? It was pretty much known that they were going to be without like multiple players for that Wednesday game against the A's. Got sucked in with the A's there, and of course the Padres just do what they do and win they just find ways to win. I That's I guess my question for you guys. I'm not going to downgrade the Padres all that much, even if they're without a couple of their stars for a little while. They have a handful of guys right now at El Paso that are just like doing everything in their power to get into that big league lineup. I think the one that they called up, as his name's escaping me right now, he started in the outfield for them against the A's, but they've got they've got our guy Tokyo Brandon, Jonathan Perlaza from the Hanwha Eagles, had a great season in KBO last year. He's raking at AAA. Tercer Ornelas, I thought would be a guy that might make the team out of spring training. So I guess for me, like, do you guys think the books are going to downgrade the Padres at all this weekend? And if so, are you just going to kind of keep firing on them? Because they just kind of feel like a team that has enough depth to just win regardless.
Well, in my opinion, by the way, Jack, Francis, I have him rated 9.7 out of 30 on my rankings. But the Padres are just a much better team than Colorado. I have Colorado ranked lower than the White Sox. They actually hit worse than the White Sox, and they have better hitting. They have a much better bullpen, but I don't like them today because if you look at how Nick Pivetta has performed against these Colorado Rockies, is not well, and I don't trust Pivetta in the first place. And like you said, Tatis might be out. So if Colorado's going to snake one away from him, it could be today. But after today, I have no reservations at all going with San Diego in this matchup.
I have no problems going against Colorado on the road. Worst team in Major League Baseball the last, 2 decades when they play on the road. I think it might have been Oscar Gonzalez you were talking about, Trig.
Yes, it was. Yep.
Oscar played Gonzalez. In St. Louis, played in Cleveland. I actually watched that game yesterday, and they talked about, how strange it was that maybe Oscar Gonzalez was being called up before others. And they said he made some major changes in his batting over the last year or so, his approach in batting. And they're really excited. He was fifth in the lineup yesterday. So they're really they think this isn't going to be too much of a drop off with Gonzalez here. I'm not overly excited about their other guys they've got on the bench. I do, although Jose Iglesias had a really nice season last year. But Martin Maldonado, just a defensive catcher, he's going to hit 150 for you. And Yuri Gurriel, I think his time is long past. But this is a team in San Diego. They do have some depth, and you mentioned some of the guys down in the minors. So I'm not concerned, especially when they get, as Carmine would say, the free space on the bingo card when they play the Colorado Rockies on the road. The only way I would look for San Diego is that way. And Pivetta, I have no problem with Pivetta against Colorado. He's not pitching in the altitude. He's a fly ball pitcher. This is a good place for him here in San Diego. And you'll see totally different numbers here than you would back when he played for Boston and had to deal with that wall there.
Yeah, I kind of
minus 210.
Go ahead, TB.
Minus 210.
Don't know if I'm going to lay that, but I'm just saying that I don't. It's down to 191 in some places. Pinnacle's got that, but
so that's
I don't want any part of Colorado on the road, and that's I've got to have a plus 300 to be interested in anything that Colorado does because freaky things do happen. But I've seen enough of them over the years. You're going to go broke in no time going on Colorado when they're on the road, especially against a good team in San Diego.
I think that's the point I was kind of hinting at. Obviously, like if some of the lineup stuff comes out, maybe Tatis isn't in there. I could like if the Rockies take money to put that on the other side of minus 200, the Padre. I mean, if that's your style, anything better than minus 200 on the Padres kind of feels like a gift here from a line value
Agree.
perspective. I was on the Rockies yesterday, so I'm 2-0 betting the Rockies this year. I feel like I should just quit right now. I feel like I should just not bet them the rest of the year. I'm 2-0 playing on the Rockies. Played
So
on
you
them
won
against
them
the eight.
two of their 3 wins.
Yep, and it's really just kind of going back to what Brian said. I am looking for a good spot each time they have a home series. There's going to be a good spot to bet on them.
Right.
If you look at their numbers at home for the last 4 years, they're trending toward a 500 team at home, and there's almost always going to be a good spot to bet on them at home. On the road, they're dreadful. Yesterday, I was fortunate. Like Ryan Feltner loaded the bases. There was no outs, gave up a rocket shot, which happened to be hit right at the third baseman to sort of like, get out of that jam. And then there was another scenario where they got a double play ball late. Like the Rockies were I felt like fortunate. And then, of course, they tacked on at the end. They could have easily been down 5 runs at one point and against the Brewers yesterday. And the Padres, like, this is kind of like the point I guess I want to make about this team. There's just, it's almost like, doesn't matter who's in this lineup. They're going to be tough regardless. Even when you got Merrill on the IL, even when Tatis and Cronenworth are battling injury, it's like it's just next guy up at this point. They're sitting on like 4 guys at El Paso right now that could easily be hitting 5th or 6th. And they chose the one to go with, and it's almost like doesn't matter. So I even think you could maybe go Padres minus 1.5 here. They might just smash tonight. This looks like a blowout.
How do you explain Pivetta having 370 batting average against and a 1,022 OPS against at the city? Do you think that's because it was done at Colorado, or is Pivetta?
Well,
I think
I feel like
personally,
going off memory, doesn't he have like horrific numbers at Coors Field? I'm going off memory here. I think his numbers at Coors Field are just ungodly bad. So again, I'm not going to worry about that. It's something I'm not even going to think about if the game's not at Coors Field. So
he's a fly ball pitcher, and so you could look at Cincinnati, you could look at Coors Field. There's a lot of stadiums out there that are more fly ball pitchers. I bet you he's got bad numbers in all of them, and he's not the only one. There's a lot of guys that are fly ball pitchers. There's a reason why Kansas City went out and drafted or brought in some of the pitchers they did last year. They are fly ball pitchers, and Kansas City doesn't give up a lot of home runs. But you go on the road and they're playing in Colorado or Cincinnati. I don't want any part of those pitchers because of that.
San Diego certainly is not a fly ball park.
Not correct. No. Let's go to the chat, and I'll go back to you, Tokyo Brandon, because we have a viewer that asks, how about Padres and Dodgers on a 2-team parlay plus 121? So we've already talked about the Padres. Let's hit the other leg of that parlay, if you will. It's Cubs, Dodgers out west tonight as well.
Yeah, Yamamoto has great numbers against the Cubs, so I don't have a problem with that. But my question would be, why would you parlay them? Just take the Padres -1. You can chop 30-40 cents off the line and get him at -150. It's much easier to win one event rather than it is to win 2 events. So when you have to win 2 events, it's like flipping the coin 2 times and hoping it lands on heads both times. Whereas winning one coin flip is exponentially easier. So I would not even parlay them. I would find a way to take one event and make it better odds. That would be my approach.
What about you, Brian? Anything on Cubs Dodgers for you?
Well, Yamamoto, excellent pitcher, gotten off to an excellent start, but I'm always looking. Well, my first look is at an underdog, and the Cubs have already played the Dodgers. They played them over there around the corner from where Tokyo's at, and the Dodgers dominated them. So the Cubs got that in their mind. Since that time, the Cubs have played the better ball than the Dodgers have. And Matthew Boyd, a lefty, is a crafty lefty. I like him. I wish Cleveland would have kept him. He was excellent in his first start, his last start out there. And to get a quality team like the Cubs in that price range, in the 180 price range, has me a little bit interested. I don't like to bet against Yamamoto. And when we get to the bullpens, I don't want any part of the Cubs bullpen as opposed to the Dodgers. But maybe a first five may be the way to take a look at that for the Cubs in the first five. And let me check our trusty
Plus a
odds
half run.
logic and see
Plus
what.
a half run's probably good odds, probably minus 130 range.
Let's see what we've got here. We've got Boyd at plus 180 to one. I can get a 190 right now at the South Point in Vegas. All the Vegas books are closed right now. You could still bet small, but you can get 180 a bet online. I'm not sure. So I'm interested in that Cubs first five.
Yeah, I'll go as far as to say, just to answer the question, no, I don't think that's a good parlay. I would be, my numbers come out far more even. My projections are far more even in that Cubs Dodgers game, to the point where the way I would look at it would be Cubs plus 1.5, because you got kind of get the road team. You're getting plus 1.5 right around minus 110. My numbers. Yeah, and the Cubs are a good baseball team. They're, in my opinion, they were one of the teams I was higher on relative to the market. I think they could, like, as some of they're loaded. They probably have the best. They're probably more loaded at AAA than any other team in the league right now. Like, with some guys that could really play a part this year. So I'm very high on the Cubs personally. There's no way I would go against them at this price. So to answer the question, like, it wouldn't be the Dodgers. I'm fine with Padres in trying to build a bet around that. I would not pair it with the Dodgers. You're just not getting enough bang for your buck there, in my opinion.
Can I give my opinion on parlays?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
The worst part about parlays is you have to have the best number at the same casino at the exact same time. I'm looking at the odds logic screen from WagerTalk. Make sure to download it. It's got maybe a 2 to 5 minute delay, but it's still very, very good, especially at 6 o'clock in the morning. If you're looking to play the Dodgers, I've got like 10 sports books here. We've got a whole lot more than that on the site. Your best line on the Dodgers right now on Heritage is minus 196. Your best line on Pavetta and San Diego is 191 Pinnacle. So if you're parlaying, you're getting cheated on the line because you're not finding the best line at both places. So if you got a 196 and a 191, you can't play them. But if you play them straight, you get the best line on both those games.
Yep.
That's my problem with parlays. Is it's got to be the exact same time at the exact same sports book. And how many times does that happen?
That's a great point.
Yeah. And like I said, it's much easier for one event to happen than it is for two events to happen. You can predict it's going to rain tomorrow, but can you predict it's going to rain tomorrow and the next day? It's exponentially more difficult. And add to this, the Dodgers 7, 8, 9 have done nothing. Kike Hernandez, pathetic. Pages, pathetic. Muncy, pathetic. They've been horrible this last few games. So yeah, I mean, I'm scared of that game. I'm going to lay off it, but I do think Yamamoto is going to have a good game.
I believe Freeman's going to be back today, from what I understand.
Yeah, first game back though. Who knows, right? I don't think he's been taking a lot of live batting practice. I think they're just throwing him in like they did last season. See.
All right, I want to circle back to Jack's question because we kind of just glossed over this quickly, but we'll use this we'll use this to segue into another game. So he asked about Bowden Francis, where TB has him rated on his curve of pitching. He says he loves watching him pitch. I kind of came around on that. Last year, I felt like this dude was going to get crushed at some point. Like, I felt like it was a matter of time until he just got absolutely blown up, and then he never really did. And you kind of look at his numbers from last year now that you have a larger sample. Just great location, and he's one of those guys that's like clearly knows what he's doing out there. I think if he didn't, he would have gotten just destroyed at some point last year. So I've kind of come around on Francis a little bit as like, I'm certainly not just like trying to fade him at this point. Not like I was like, middle of the year last year. I don't know if he's someone I'm jumping in with just yet, but I'm certainly not trying to fade him at this point. So TB, I'll now give you the floor so you can kind of like, go ahead on Jack's question. Where's he on your curve?
Yeah, I got him at 9.7 out of 30 on the curve of 30. So he's in the top 1/3. He's not really striking people out at a good rate this season. I think he's what at 7.9 per nine, which is okay. I mean, it's not bad. And he's going about almost 17 outs per start. So yeah, he's very solid. He's like a Corbin Burns kind of guy. Maybe not quite as reliable as Burns, but yeah, he's a reliable innings eater, and he's going to collect some wins with that lineup. He pitches in a hitter's park as well, so that even is more props to him. I'm not sure if I'm going to back him today though, because Sugano's a pretty good pitcher. Sugano's he's a little over the hill, so he's going to look good at the beginning of the season. He's probably going to tail off as the season goes on. But man, these two teams, when they get together, the Jays and the Orioles, I just don't know what to expect, to be honest. Sometimes it's a crazy game. Sometimes it's a nothing game. So I really don't know what to expect from this. So I'm going to stay off this particular game. But I do love, from an entertainment point of view, I love watching Francis pitch. Brian, what do you think about this?
Well, I want to ask Brian a question about this, and then he can go on. Like, so Brian, do you think there's like going to, there's room in the game finally again for a guy like Francis who doesn't really get a ton of swing and miss? Like, because that's what my concern was, but I'm starting to see, some guys like that have more success than they were.
Yeah, I've mentioned in the past that I do a lot of fantasy baseball, and the fantasy community has been fading Francis for 2 years now, and because of they're looking for the big strikeout guys, and he got on a run. He had a lot of strikeouts at one point last year when he was on that hot run, but it's getting to the point now where you have to start thinking, as Brandon talked about, he's getting a lot of innings in there, and he's looked really good. And normally when I'm looking to play Toronto and Baltimore this season, especially when they're playing each other, I'm looking to play the over. Problem is, I think he may be. We saw a really good start from a Toronto starter yesterday, but he may be one of the guys at the end of the year is the top man in their starting rotation. Sugano, I was hoping to get more from you guys because you would know him more than I do. I know he is older and he's not a huge strikeout guy, but he gives you innings. And as we have seen from these starters that come over from Japan and Korea and all, their first time through the league, they've had a lot of success. So if either one of you know him enough to enlighten me, I'd appreciate that.
Go ahead, TB. He's a Japanese guy, so I don't know anything about him. Talk to us about Sugano.
Japanese pitchers, the one thing that all of them have pretty much in common is they go long, because in Japan, it's just like baseball in America in the 90s, 80s and 90s. You're expected to throw 100 pitches, period. You're expected to go 7 innings. That's what a starter does. And that's how they treat their starters here in Japan, even now. I think Daisuke Matsuzaka, he was the most abused pitcher in the world, in Japan, in history. he was doing like 10 complete games a season, and then in high school he was pitching like 2 complete games a week in high school. I'm surprised his arm didn't fall off before he went to America, but that's how they treat their pitchers here, and Sugano's no exception. He will go long. He'll go deep into the game as long as he doesn't get tagged. He's got a lot of different pitches. I think about 6 years ago, he was considered elite, like top 2, top 3 pitcher. And that's when Sasaki was here. Well, Sasaki was in high school, but that's when a lot of good pitchers were still here. Maybe some that you guys don't know. But that's when a lot of good pitchers were here. And so he was elite. He's one of those kind of older guys who was elite 5 years ago. So he's kind of like a DeGrom or something like that. But he's not a power pitcher like that. So hopefully that answers your question. He's more of a mini pitch arsenal kind of guy than he is a power pitcher. And he's old, so he's going to tail off as the season goes.
So real quick, Dan Alexander is in the chat, so we know he's awake. Shout out to Dan. We know he's up. Out on the West Coast right there. And, we got to tie each of these games back into something actionable. So
yes,
I guess when you look at this Blue Jays Orioles game, for me, like, I want no part of this Orioles team right now. They're not hitting. Gunnar Henderson looks lost at the plate. Like, you have to imagine that there's a breakout at some point. They're too good not to break out at some point. But for me, like, I wouldn't be laying a price with the Orioles at this point. Like, there's too many guys in that lineup that look like they're lost, and there's adjustments that need to be made. So I'm probably not going to bet this, but certainly, like, the value looks like it's on the Blue Jays here. What do either of you guys think?
Go ahead, Toki.
Oh, okay. So just comparing these teams with my database here and kind of, looking at the tail of the tape here, I see two pretty bad lineups that are in bad form right now. And I see two bullpens that are extremely mediocre. And then I see one starting pitcher, Francis, that's ranked a little higher than the other. So kind of looks like this one's going to kind of go the distance here. If anything, I think an under here because we have better pitchers and bullpens than we do lineups. I'm not going to bet that though. But if I had to say anything this game, I would say we'll go under.
There has been some money come in on Baltimore in the last 5 minutes or so. We're looking, it opened 115. Now we're looking 120 to 128 range. So some money has come in on Baltimore. If it continues up, I can catch a 125 with Toronto. I'd take the chance. It's a better pitcher. And as you mentioned, Baltimore's struggling. Baltimore's probably, their third baseman, Urias, was a guy that they just thought was going to be an afterthought this year. He's probably been their most consistent hitter on the season. And he is getting in the lineup each and every day, even though they've got all these young players that are supposedly breaking down the door. I don't know. After all this talk about Baltimore having all these great players, other than Westbrook, who is injured right now, by the way, who has broken out? Nobody. Maybe they're not as good. Their minor league has not been as good as what we all thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I just pulled up. I had to go back and reference my projections. My numbers actually like the Orioles here, so that I was just kind of going off memory. I'm kind of shocked that my numbers are suggesting the Orioles have value because based on my eyes, I very much disagree with that. And I would again, I think there's I thought Gunnar Henderson looked awful when he was at Norfolk last week, and there's just some things like the Orioles kind of profile as a fade to me in general this year. I don't like what they did at all with their pitching. So yeah, I've got nothing on that one. It's kind of puzzling, and there's so many other games. We might as well just move on. So
let's talk about them.
Let's go back to the chat. Robert S. Cards first 5 plus a half. Nola cannot keep the ball in any yard, and his record first 5 over his last 50 starts is not good. I'll go to Brian first. What do you think about that?
Well, I am more concerned about them playing that rain out and being on the road in Atlanta and getting into St. Louis. Now, luckily, it's a 5:15 Pacific game, so 8:15 Eastern. They should be settled in by then. But that's a long night. That's a long day at the ballpark that they had to go through yesterday. Now, obviously, Nola didn't have to do that. He didn't pitch. But that's always a concern for me. The early money has come in on St. Louis. Palante is one of these guys that's not going to be a major strikeout guy. But everything I've read from St. Louis is he's one of their guys that is on the rise. They've got a couple guys, Quinn Matthews and another one down in the minors that should be coming up pretty soon. They've actually got pretty good players in the minors. Tink Hence, they may make him into a reliever. But they have some talent in the minors. And Philadelphia's the better team. There's no doubt about it. And entered the season looking to fade St. Louis, but St. Louis is playing over their head so far. They're playing pretty well. The line is 7.5 here in St. Louis. That seems to be, I don't know what the weather is at this point, but that seems to be pretty low for these two offenses in Philadelphia and St. Louis to get a 7.5 with Palante and Nola. I agree with the Nola sentiment. He's getting older. They count on him. He's more of an innings eater right now than a rotation leader. So I'm if the weather is fine there, I may take a look at the over. 7.5 is just too low unless it's really cold and they've got some weather concerns.
Yeah, so I just figured out how to put the comments on the screen. I'm going to start doing that. It was actually very easy. Dan, newbie, I'm sure, is in the chat somewhere. Proud of me that I figured out probably the most simple production task, which is just to literally hit show the comment. I figured that out, so we can. I'll make sure that those are up. I'll talk about Palante for a minute. I've actually been very impressed with him just in general. He's kind of one of those guys that's been asked to do anything and everything over the last couple of years. He's the guy that's like, he'll be down at AAA, make a couple starts, then they'll need him, they'll use him in relief, then they'll ask him to make a start, then they'll send him back to AAA. Maybe he'll throw a relief appearance, and that can be tough to put up numbers. I think we talked about this the other day. It can be difficult to put up numbers when you end up being that guy, right? Because it takes a toll. You're in different cities. You never know. It really messes with some guys' routines. So the fact that he had the season that he did last year under that sort of, under really the last, I'm looking like kind of the last 2 years for them. I think he's like mostly been good. I'm higher on him than the market. So the lean here for me, I think, would be the Cardinals, just based on the fact that like you're getting Nola's always going to get priced. His name it carries enough weight at this point where he's going to get priced as like a more premium option. The Phillies, as we know, get priced as a more premium option because of where they're at as a team. But I'm higher than most on Palante, so I would look to I'm kind of with it was Robert. Cards first 5, I guess, has some value, and I think at plus money they might be worth a look.
Yeah, Nola used to be pretty elite. Not so much elite, but he used to be a top pitcher in the league, and he's not anymore. But he's still pretty good. So my rankings, I have him 11.4 out of 30. Still in the upper echelon, but not in the top 1/3. So, and Palante has struggled against this team, although, yeah, he is a young up-and-comer. Perhaps neither team has a good bullpen. The Cardinals are actually hitting better than the Phillies, but as I think Brian said, they're outperforming. Their eventually will come back to earth. So will they come back to earth today or not? I'm not sure. But yeah, good lineups, bad bullpens. Goes.
All right, Daryl Turner says likes Cubs and Angels as underdogs. Staying away from Dodgers tonight might be an over game. So we already talked about that game, and I think we agree with Daryl. Definitely some value on the Cubs. Let's talk about the other game he brings up. Astros Angels. I guess just like without digging into it, I agree in the respect that like Kachanowicz, I have rated higher than I think the market does. I had a nice winner with him in his first start of the season against the White Sox. Believe that was the game that kind of got rain delayed and then finished a couple hours later. So I ended up on the right side there. So yeah, like the Angels, didn't expect this out of the Angels. I think somewhere I'm on record saying that they were the worst team in the AL aside from the White Sox prior to the start of the season, and they've been really good. So I'll start with Brian. Do you, any opinion here? Angels, Astros, and what do you make of the Angels' start so far?
Yeah, I like it. I was on the Angels. That was my only play yesterday. Nice to be able to get a day game where it was a no doubter at any point. I've been on the Angels more than I've been against them this year. Kachanowicz is, I didn't think much of him coming into the season, but I've been a little impressed by him. He's done very well. I know a guy who is an Angels fan. He follows them very well. And every guy who is a young guy who has played well for the Angels, he talked about him earlier before the season started with me. And so he took Paris. He mentioned this pitcher here. Everybody he circled has all started well. So I got to give a lot of credit to that. It's kept me on the Angels and not against them so far this season. Blanco's a guy who came out of nowhere and pitched great. We're looking at something right now anywhere from 138 to up the 150 range I'm seeing a 155 at DraftKings now, 158 at FanDuel. So a lot of money starting to come in on Houston, whereas the Angels took a little bit of money earlier. So we got a battle between two groups here that like each side. I don't want to fade the Angels. The Angels hitting right now has just been terrific. They've got everybody healthy, and they're playing very well. Houston's been a disappointment. and I think it'll be a disappointing season overall for Houston this year. So it's getting to the point where if this continues to rise a little bit, if I can catch a 140 here with the dog, we're currently the best I'm seeing is 135. They'll be on my radar at 140. They're just playing the much better ball right now.
Yeah, I'll talk. Go ahead,
sorry.
TB, and then go ahead.
I'll make it very quick because this is the exact kind of game that I stay away from. We got the Astros, who are not hitting well and have a good bullpen, which trends to an under. And then we have the Angels, who are cranking the ball with a horrible bullpen, which trends to an over. So which way this game's going to go, no idea. So I'm staying off it.
I mean, I'll just circle back to Kachanowicz a little bit. I think why he's effective right now. So he was a guy last year they called up directly from Double-A. So he spent no time at Triple-A, at least before he got called up. I think he may have made a start or two at Triple-A over the course of the season. So almost a complete unknown to the league. And I just feel like he's been able to, his stuff is deceptive enough where no one's really figured him out yet. And he's getting some decent swing and miss this year, more than he got last year. He keeps the ball on the ground. He kind of does like all the things that you would want a starting pitcher to do. And that's why I think I'm higher than the market on him. He rated out very strong in my pitcher ratings last year for minor league pitcher ratings. So again, it's all relative to price. I'm kind of with Brian. I would not be laying the number with the Astros here. I think you're just paying too much of a premium. And then, like you said, TB, why even do that in this spot when the Angels are playing so well? It's like there's no reason to poke the bear at this price here. So it could only be the Angels, in my opinion.
I want to ask you guys, if I may, about the Reds game, because that's a tough one to me. I mean, the knee-jerk reaction. Do you mind if we talk about this for a minute?
Go ahead. Start it off.
I'll be the comment section and ask you guys a question. So the knee-jerk reaction when I saw this was, oh, Singer's a better pitcher, Reds are a better team, Reds all the way. And then I looked at the number, it's minus 160, minus 155. And then I looked, the Pirates are actually hitting better than the Reds right now. So it's really hard to take a team minus 160 when they can't hit. So I'm just curious what you guys think about this game.
Yeah, the Reds have been a team offensively. They've either been great or they've been terrible. We remember the games where they got shut out 1-0 3 days in a row. The Reds have been very inconsistent. This is a much better team when they're hitting at home, and they are at home tonight against Pittsburgh. Bailey Falter, not much of a fan of his. Singer has pitched better in Cincinnati than I thought he would. I originally couldn't understand the trade with Kansas City. Kansas City needed a leadoff hitter and an infielder, and they got it, and he's done a terrific job for them. Singer going from Kansas City to Cincinnati worried me, to be totally honest with you. But he's been able to pitch well in a small sample size thus far. If he can master Great American Ballpark, he'll be in for a good season. Because he's always been there, but he's a guy who does give up some fly balls, and that's going to concern me. Neither team really hitting well. We've talked in the past about Pittsburgh's offense being really bad, but we're getting an 8, and you don't really see too many games in Cincinnati where you get a total of 8. So there may be something that we could play the over on, but I can't truly trust either one of these offenses right now.
I'll talk about Singer for a second. I'm extremely high on Brady Singer this year. So I cashed with him in his last start. They were an underdog against the Brewers. And the reason I like him so much is he really worked on a cutter in the offseason that seems to be working. And he seems to have figured out, like they worked on his pitch mix. He's really throwing it more. He's had great results with it so far. Like I said, that game, the game against Milwaukee probably wasn't his best effort. They did win that game. Like, I think it's a little bit deceiving though. Like, so he ended up giving up 9 hits, 3 earned runs. They made a couple errors behind him. That's a deceiving line because he also had a huge lead in that game. So the Reds were up, I think, for like 7-0 early. So he was kind of like a lot of those runs that he gave up in that start were like, okay, I've got a 7-0 lead. Let me throw strikes, 7 strikeouts to just 1 walk. He was really just trying to throw strikes, and then he had like at least one error made behind him because only 3 of those 5 runs that he gave up were earned. You go back to the start against Texas again, 8 strikeouts against 2 walks. The cutter, it has been working well for him, and I've always felt like the Reds do a pretty good job developing pitchers, so that to me is a positive move for him. I think Sonny Gray always he basically begged to go back to Cincinnati because stuff wasn't working out for him, and he talked about how good they were in terms of developing pitching. As far as the Reds' office is concerned, this team should luck their way into. They should be scoring runs by accident with how much speed is on that roster. Mm-hmm. They get a guy on base that he should be on third. He should. It's actually amazing that they go stretches without scoring runs because they should be in position to manufacture better than just about anyone in the league. So I'm pretty high on the Reds. I don't know if I'm down with them at this price here. I think you kind of maybe missed your chance to back Singer at this point. Now you're starting to get out of the price range where I'd be comfortable doing it, but I'm certainly not going to go against him. So it would be Reds or pass for me.
They have so much talent, and inexplicably they're 2-4 at home. So it's early in the season. I'm sure they'll have a winning record at home by the time the season's over.
It's funny that you bring that up, TV, because I feel like they've been surprisingly average at I don't think they've been very good win-loss wise at home the past couple of years. I feel like that's one of those things where people in their head think, oh, the Reds at home, they're good because their offensive numbers tend to be their home road splits offensively tend to be better. I don't know that's translated to wins and losses. I'll have to look that up, but that was something I was just going off memory, that their win-loss record wouldn't be as good as you would think it would be at home. Matt, we did talk about this game at the top. I think we're all all good with that the Padres would probably go over their team total tonight if it's 3.5. We talked about that game, but I certainly lean that's probably the right move. Anyone have a comment on Matt's team total?
I agree with it, and I just want one final talk about the Reds. All 13 of the Reds games have been against teams that are playing over 500 ball. They've had a tough schedule thus far. St. Louis, on the other hand, along with Milwaukee, who are right above them in the standings, have only played 6 games against really good teams. So Cincinnati may be a situation where on this homestand they turn it around. It could possibly be. So just one more thing to talk about in that game.
Do you guys mind if I throw another game at you? Because I have no idea how to look at this game, and I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts, if that's all right.
All right.
The Giants and Yankees. We got Robbie Ray, who used to be a strikeout master. Now he can't strike anyone out. I think he's got a 4 strikeout per K rate at this point, but he's got a decent ERA. And then we got Stroman, who used to be good and sucks now. With Giants are not as good as their records. So how do you see this game? Because I have no idea how to approach this one.
I'll let Brian start. Go ahead.
I like the Giants here. Robbie Ray, you mentioned in the preseason he was blowing people away. So I'm not too concerned about the small sample size of strikeouts. He's a lefty, which is a situation for the the Yankees will have a lot of righties in their lineup in Yankee Stadium. That's not a bad thing because of the short porch in right field. Stroman want no part of. The San Francisco's playing good team ball right now. The Yankees, after all the missile bats and all that was going on earlier, and the Yankees, once they started facing some good pitchers, they just didn't seem to hit as well. I prefer the Giants here. Not sure we're getting true value here. Open plus 105. I could see it as high as 120 at the South Point. Another place is really not really open yet, but they have had some moves off the kiosks. But Ray's the much better pitcher. He was a guy in the fantasy realm that everybody was jumping on. It was a big breakthrough for him coming back from TJ surgery last year and looking as well as he did at the end of the season. I expect a big season out of Robbie Ray. And San Francisco, talking about pitching coaches and the way they've done it, San Francisco always seems to have good starters on that team, and a lot of them are guys that were given up from other teams. So they've got a good coaching staff there. I like San Francisco, but I've got to get full effort. And right now, we don't have it. But I'll watch that number, and if it gets too high, I'll be on the dog.
You removed logos and team names off these teams and looked at the numbers. There's no way the Yankees should be favored in this. Marcus Stroman sucks. There's no way they should be. Go ahead, Adam.
That's the point I was going to make. You're absolutely right about that. The Giants are playing tremendous ball right now. I'm going to go to Jack's question just to kind of make my point here. General question for you guys. After 2 weeks, do you think there's a team or teams that's priced wrong in the market and you're looking to back or fade? I'm looking to fade the Yankees. I think that opening weekend where they just bombed the Brewers, they're still living off that a little bit. And then, of course, they're living off of where the Yankees are always priced, right? I mean, they had a tremendous team last year. They get to the World Series. I don't think they're that this year. And you're always going to pay a tax to bet the Yankees. That's a team that I think is priced incorrectly. I think that's going to be the case almost all season. Now, it doesn't mean there's not going to be good spots to back the Yankees, but I think for the most part, they're incorrectly priced, and they will continue to be priced as an elite option, which I disagree with. I don't think they're an elite team. The Giants are awesome, and to Brian's point, they have pitching for days. They're sitting on a rotation at Sacramento right now, a full rotation, a full big league rotation that they have just chilling down there. They've got Mason Black, who can come up. I saw like they've been using him as a reliever at AAA, like a long reliever. And he is like, he could easily, they brought him up to be a starter at one point last year. That's going to be very dangerous if he kind of like, becomes the guy that they can come in and throw 3 or 4 innings for you in long relief. I wouldn't be surprised to see them use him. They've got Carson Wisenhunt, who's awesome. Carson Seymour. There's like 3 guys named Carson, which is extremely confusing as well. Carson Seymour has made a huge jump from last year to this year. He looks like a guy that could slot right into that rotation. So they're sitting on like 3 or 4 really good starters down there right now. Tokyo, we've got our guy Jung-Hoo Lee, who's now had a year to figure out the MLB. He's going to rake this year. I think he's hitting 333 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if that average stays up in like the 280, 300 range. I think he's like that good. And last year was great for him, right? Because he got to play a little bit. He faced some adversity. He didn't have to play a full season, so he's not like totally burnt out. Obviously, gets hurt and kind of has to shut it down early. But all of that made him better for this year. Like Jack says in the chat, he's smoking the ball. He is going to be so good for this team, in my opinion. I think he'll far surpass Ha-Seong Kim from the Padres in terms of like what he's able to do at the MLB level. Helio Ramos, potential superstar. Guy can kill the ball. So I'm really impressed with the Giants. Like I think they're kind of like a team that I think could be. I don't think this start is a fluke. Let's put it that way. I don't think it's a fluke that they're 9-3. They're a very good baseball team.
Team that I would back from now would be the Diamondbacks. Although they're in a murderer's row of a division. I always like a team with a strong bullpen, and in my opinion, that was their problem up to now. Is they've always had the hitting. They had a poor bullpen. Now their bullpen's performing really well. Their lineup is on par with the top teams in the league, including the Dodgers, Phillies, etc. And they added Corbin Burns, so they have pretty solid rotate. The problem is their 3rd and 4th starters, like Fat and those guys are Edwin Rodriguez. They might not be able to hold it together with a staff like that, but their record doesn't reflect how good they are, in my opinion. And by the way, the Yaz thing that Jack's asking about, over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I don't know. I don't like to do over hits, runs, RBIs against a team with a top bullpen, and the Yankees do have a top bullpen, so might not bet that. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
No problem at all. I will say the Atlanta Braves are the team that have the value right now. Mm-hmm. If you've been watching Strider in his minor league starts, he looks. Is it possible he could be better than he was before? I don't want to jump out in front of it, but he's looked incredible. Schwellenbach is an ace. They've got a lot of talent on that team, and they will be getting their all-star center fielder back pretty soon. They just brought back their starting catcher. They're starting to get healthy, and they're actually an underdog today down in Tampa. I know
Yeah.
Bryce Elder's on the mound. He's the lesser of any of their pitchers, but they're a very, very, very good team. But they're in the same situation as Philadelphia is for the travel and all. I want to take a look and get your guys' opinions on Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom this season has come out and said that he was going to take a little bit off his speed and try to pitch at a lower miles per hour. And he really hasn't had that much success so far. Now, it's a learning curve, and he is pitching in Seattle, which is the worst hitter's ballpark tonight. So he'll probably have success. But he has not looked nearly the same now that he's cut off some of that fire out of his arm. So he'll probably stay in the games longer and be on the team longer, which is a good thing. But right now, if you're betting deGrom, you're betting him based on his past success and not on the way he's pitching right now. He's just hasn't been as good, but he's a veteran and he knows what his body. I expect by the end of the season he'll have it all figured out. But right now, you're overpaying for deGrom's name.
Oh, I 1000% agree with that. Like if that is true, well, it is true, and he's going to take a little bit off because he's worried about like longevity and the the course of the season and whatnot. There's really you really can't back him in a one-off basis because you're like you said, you're paying for dominant deGrom, and I don't know that like taking a little off is going to guarantee you the dominant effort. So I'm with you, Brian. I'd probably have to fade him just based on the price point, what you're going to be asked to pay to back him. This is probably a rare instance where I like the Mariners a little bit. I don't like this Mariners team at all. They don't hit. They didn't do anything to improve their lineup, but they still have a fantastic rotation, some really good relievers. I do think Bryce Miller is much better than we've seen from him through 2 outings. So this is this is a rare spot where I like the Mariners. And I got to stop saying kind of and sort of. I don't have a broadcast coach, but if I did, I'm sure they would say that. So I will watch that. I just ramble about baseball. I kind of just ramble along, but that's a good point. Go ahead, TB.
No, deGrom, I think he's performing quite well, and he's gonna have a hopefully a good game today against a team that absolutely cannot hit, which is Seattle. Here's an interesting statistic, if I can speak. Did you know that the no-run first inning best team in the league is Seattle, and they have a run in the first inning in only 15% of their games? So I think that trend will probably continue today since neither team's actually hitting the ball, and there's 2 pretty good pitchers on the mound. But yeah, I'm not as down on deGrom as you guys are. He's losing his longevity, but I don't think he's losing his stuff so much. But the days where he dominated for 6-7 innings is gone. You're lucky to get 5 from him.
If you look at Baseball Savant right now, his fastball run value is in the 9th percentile, off-speed run value 26th percentile, strikeout percentage the 39th percentile. He's just when he's taking a little bit of it off. I mean, still got 3.38 ERA, 1.13 WHIP. There's 99% of the pitchers in Major League Baseball would love that, but I'm just seeing some warning signs on it right now. And this is Baseball Savant is a situation where I can get in there and I take a look at all his pitches and what he has done, and he's just not nearly successful right now at the lower speed than he was before. But I understand why he's doing it. I mean, he wants to extend his career, and obviously Texas feels the same way. So that's not a problem. If he can have a 3.38 ERA at the end of the season, that's terrific. Problem is, the last 2 seasons before that, he was 2.67 and 1.69. So small sample sizes, obviously, because he hasn't been healthy. But I think you're just overpaying when you're betting deGrom right now.
He is overpriced, that's for sure.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And here's the thing for DeGrom, like he doesn't need to prove anything at this point. Like he doesn't need to go dominate in April, May, and June. Like he's done that his whole career. He wants to win it. He wants to win a championship, right? Like he's on a team that he could potentially do that with. So, you look like the Rangers are 9-4, right? I think like they can live with him going out, giving him 5 or 6 innings, not getting hurt, keeping them in a game. Like I think everyone in that organization is content with that right now. So everyone in that organization is content with that. Just keep us in the game, save your arm, don't get hurt. He's probably a guy that you want to start to back like come the playoffs or come like August and September if the Rangers are in big games that they need to win, because you know he's going to have it in the tank, right? Like it's there. He's done it before. And I think he just wants to make sure he gets to the end of this season, gets to October with the ability to go out and pitch his absolute best. So that's kind of where I see DeGrom going. And that's also why you're probably just not going to get the bang for your buck backing him in early April.
We have a hard out in 5 minutes, guys.
All right. Yeah, we have a hard out in 5 minutes. Roger Long says Mariners are a fade or a pass for me. I'm with you long term on that. I can't see many times I bet the Mariners this year, but I do think that there is some value on them in this spot. I probably won't touch it. Let's see.
I bet him and I lost at the beginning. I was high on him, but I'm not anymore.
All right. I will. So we've got 4 minutes left. I'll go to you, TB. Do you want to throw one more game out there before we shut it down?
I got a 5% play today, so I'm going to avoid that game. But Nationals and Marlins, I like Parker. I think he's a pretty good pitcher. So I kind of like the Nationals today. It's not a huge play, but in a fight between two bad teams, I actually like Parker. I've seen him pitch a couple times. I kind of like him. So I kind of like the Nats there.
The Miami hasn't decided on a starting pitcher yet, so I can't.
I think it's Quantrill. I think it's Cal Quantrill.
Cal Quantrill.
Well, Miami. Then I would agree. If I can fade Cal Quantrill at a decent price, that's probably the way to do it.
Yep.
I'll throw one more out that we haven't talked about yet. I'll throw one more out we haven't touched on yet. I do think the A's might be a little bit of value tonight at plus money against the Mets. I'll have my eye on this to see if plus 1.5 comes into range. It's currently like minus 135. I would need it to be like 10 cents cheaper. But I guess what appeals to me about that game is you've got Griffin Canning coming back to face the A's, a team that knows him extremely well. I think if you look at Savant, his stuff last year was poor, like in the bottom percentile. I think it rated out as poor pretty much across the board. I do think Canning might have success in a new home with the Mets. Like I always felt like he was a guy that really fell short of like where he should have been, where his ceiling was. He never really fulfilled his potential during his time with the Angels. So maybe the Mets can unlock some of that. But man, like I see his surface numbers are okay so far this year, but he's got 5 walks and 9.2 innings pitched. I don't see him being great. And I don't think he's going to this is an A's team that knows him. They've got a great scouting report for him. They've seen him a ton. And you've got an A's lineup that has underrated hitters all throughout the lineup. I think we talked about, I remember Brian saying like Jacob Wilson was going to be the key, that he was going to have to be like one of the ones. He's got a 13-game hitting streak. I said he might win Rookie of the Year before the season started. We look very smart as it pertains to that right now. And then you look up and down that lineup, Soderstrom, Rooker, like the A's have guys that can hit. The A's could easily tag Canning pretty good here if they've got the bats going. JP Sears has turned into like a quality start machine at this point. You go back to last year, 6-7 innings every start. You look at this year so far, 2 quality starts. He's pitched into the 7th inning both times. I feel like he's getting ahead in counts. His command is solid. And that's the thing with the A's. The back end of their bullpen is their weakness, right? Like if they've got a guy that can get him to the 6th or 7th, and you can get the ball to Ferguson and to Mason Miller, who I still think is the best reliever in baseball right now, the A's are pretty dangerous. So I like how this sets up for the A's here. I would like the plus 1.5 a lot more. If you could get that at like minus 130 or better, I think that's a great bet. But even for some plus money on the A's, like plus 115, plus 120, I think is pretty solid. So I think they're a live dog tonight. I'll throw that. I'll throw it. So we'll close it out there. Anyone have closing thoughts? A's, Mets, and then we'll get out of here.
I do. Anytime somebody leaves the Angels as a starting pitcher and goes somewhere else, that's a positive. The Angels coaching staff for pitchers is terrible. Canning's worked. Everything I've heard in the preseason was he's worked on other stuff for the Mets. I actually like Canning in this one. This is a different Canning than what the A's have seen over all these years.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Long term, I like the outlook for Canning as a Met. I just think, like, you know, this is probably not the best spot for him, I guess. And you've got, you know, a ballpark that will give up a cheap homer or two. Although he does do a good job of keeping the ball on the ground. I guess that's one, like, kind of pro Canning thing there. It's more a bet of, I just think the A's are still criminally undervalued. What do you think, TB? And then we'll close it down.
I'm not a big Canning fan, but I don't think he's going against a lineup that's not too scary. So we'll see how it goes. Like you said, when people leave the Angels, it is true that some organizations are just poorly run, and they're definitely one of those. I'll leave it at that.
All right, 765 of you guys tuned in. Appreciate you joining us. Hopefully we gave out some actionable stuff, and hopefully you enjoyed the baseball talk. We'll be back on Tuesday morning. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Cash all your tickets. We'll see you guys next week.